Sarnath is the place where Buddhism started, and it is the place where Buddha set the Dhamma rolling. This is the place where Buddha preached his first sermon called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. In Sarnath, Buddha gave the theory of Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Paths, which leads to freedom and enlightenment. Sarnath is located around 10 kilometers from the ancient city of Varanasi, and it is one of the most important centers of pilgrimage for the Buddhists. After attaining enlightenment at Uruvela, Buddha was undecided about teaching Dhamma to others. But on inspiration from Brahma, he set out to teach the 5 ascetics who have served him for 6 years but left him after he abandoned the path of self-mortification. Buddha reached the deer park on a full moon night of Ashara month, and that very night he gave his first sermon.
West nearly 200 miles and crossed the Ganges River. He was still searching for a way to explain to others what he feared was unexplainable, the path to the enlightenment he himself had experienced. In a deer park in Sarnath, not far from the Ganges, he would try again. His 5 former companions were still practicing the austerities he himself had abandoned. From far off they saw me coming, and on seeing me made a pact with one another, the Buddha recalled. Friends, here comes Siddhartha, living luxuriously, straying from his ascetic practice. He doesn't deserve to be bowed down to.
These are his buddies who were just disappointed and disgusted with him for giving in after they'd all been trying to starve themselves into enlightenment. So they're a little distrustful at the beginning.
They refer to him as an equal, and he then tells them, no, that's not the term you should use when you refer to a Tathagata, to a being who's gone beyond. And so he sets them straight. And they then become the first people to hear the content of what he realized under the Bodhi tree.
His first teaching would later be called setting in motion the wheel of the Dharma, because it brought the Buddha's message into the world for the first time. He did not propound a dogma. Instead, he spoke from his own experience, out of his own heart. He had known the abandon of the sensualist and the rigors of the ascetic. Now, he would disavow both of them.
The Buddha said, I've discovered a new way, and it's not the path of asceticism, and it's not the path of sensory indulgence. It's the middle way. What the Buddha was always doing was saying everything needs to be balanced. So, the middle way was always balancing between, excesses on this side, excesses on the other side.
Fair goes the dancing when the sitar is tuned. Tune us the sitar, neither high nor low, and we will dance away the hearts of men. But the string too tight breaks, and the music dies. The string too slack has no sound, and the music dies. There is a middle way. Tune us the sitar, neither low nor high, and we will dance away the hearts of men.
The path to enlightenment lay along the middle way, the Buddha taught, and the ascetics listened. Now he would answer the question that 6 years before had provoked his spiritual journey, the question of suffering.
Buddhists don't have a creation story. There is no creator deity. It's not really of interest. It's not an issue. What's of interest is the problem of human suffering and the solution to human suffering. Pretty much everything else, right, is beside the point.
The Buddha's analysis of suffering came in the form of what have come to be called the Four Noble Truths.
There is no commandments or anything. The first noble truth is that there is suffering in this world. Generally, this suffering has been mistranslated.
Suffering is not entirely accurate to the word that the Buddha probably used. It means something closer to dissatisfaction, that, we're never quite happy, and if we are, that's gone in an instant anyhow.
And he says that this suffering, this unsatisfactoriness, doesn't arise by itself. It has causes. Our own mind causes it.
While the second noble truth asserts that suffering has a cause, the third noble truth makes an astonishing claim.
You really can be free of suffering by understanding the cause of suffering. Nobody tells you that. And so that was a huge announcement.
The problem, Buddha taught, is desire. How to live with the confused and entangling desires of our own minds.
People often misunderstand Buddhism as saying, in order to wipe out suffering, you have to wipe out desire. If that was what the Buddha was saying, then where does the desire for enlightenment fit in? The Buddha is saying, be smart about your desires.
Desire must be there. Without desire, how can lead our life? Without desire, how can achieve Buddhahood? Strong desire to become Buddha. But desire to harmful, that bad.
With the fourth and final noble truth, the Buddha laid out a series of instructions for his disciples to follow, a way of leading the mind to enlightenment called the Noble Eightfold Path, the cultivation of moral discipline, mindfulness, and wisdom.
They are, as I like to think of them, a set of possible recipes that you can try on your own life and see which one makes the best soup.
Dharma is the teaching wheel, and turning the wheel of Dharma means to start spinning the wheel of the teaching. The wheel of Dharma was always there, but it needed to be turned. The Buddha's first sermon was like the act of grabbing the wheel of Dharma and forcefully turning it. And from that moment on, the wheel of Dharma has continued to turn. To this day, the wheel of Dharma is still in motion. Dhammacakra Pravartana means the wheel of Dharma is always turning. Four Truths. This sutra exists in many versions, in Pali, Chinese, and Sanskrit. One of the Chinese versions is the Buddha speaks of the turning of the wheel of Dharma Sutra, Sutra number 110 in the Taisho Tripitaka. The turning of the wheel of Dharma. Sutra is Dhammacakra Pravartana, Pravartana meaning turning, Dhammacakra being the wheel of Dharma. This sutra discusses four mysterious truths, four noble truths. In English, it is called the Four Noble Truths. In this sutra, the Buddha talks about four truths. There is suffering. There is the origin of suffering. There is the cessation of suffering. There is the path leading out of suffering. The emperor of suffering, the noble truth of the origin, the noble truth of cessation, the noble truth of the way, dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, marga. The truth of suffering